Discover Marshalltown, where we look in and around Marshall County, the city of Marshalltown, for interesting people to talk about the interesting things that they do. And back with me on the show, I think probably for the second time I've ever interviewed you, Steve Muntz, right here from Marshalltown Community College. Steve, welcome to Discover Marshalltown.
Hey, it's great to be here, and I haven't been in this position very much, but I surely have been out there behind the camera and producing the show before.
You know, the Discover Marshalltown, I think I did it maybe, I went through some of my records before we restarted this year, but probably 8 years prior, I had done the show. Maybe I'll say 6 years just to be safe. But before that, many interesting guest hosts were also sitting in this chair.
Yeah, that's right. I know Conrad DeJardin, we had Kevin Gowdy years ago, and there's been a lot of different hosts on the show.
Gene Beach did it.
Kevin Beach did it. I think Andy Schwantz filled in, Kevin Pink. Yeah, so there's been a lot of important hosts just like yourself.
It's, you know, it is a lot of fun. People ask me why I do it, and I just like to be snoopy. And you can ask questions that you probably wouldn't ask maybe if we meet each other on the street or not. But tell us a little bit about what you do out here at MCC.
Well, I have kind of a two-part job here at Iowa Valley. One would be for Marshalltown Community College. I am the director of the broadcasting program and teach broadcasting classes and journalism classes for Marshalltown Community College. Then the other half of my job is over the continuing education department, where I manage MIC-TV, which is part of what we're doing today. This is one of the shows on MIC-TV. That's Marshalltown Community Television. And also I do quite a few in-house and outside video projects for the community, for business, and of course for the college, and that's a big part of the job as well.
And again, our Discover Marshalltown is a nonprofit show, and so we really cannot solicit sponsors for the show. But it's got to be very interesting, and many of the things you've done over the years has just been very interesting, I guess.
Yeah, we get involved in a lot of different projects, and it's great to be in this business because just like you with hosting a show like this, you get to meet a lot of interesting people. We get to produce a lot of interesting programs and go to a lot of interesting locations and learn a lot about what's going on, not only here in Marshalltown, but basically in central Iowa, that a lot of people don't really get to know about, you know?
I know probably one of the most interesting shows that we set up on was the time we did the train ride from Marshalltown to Tama and back, and I mean, I had never been in an engine, you know, other than watching them go on the tracks, but it was just interesting and fun, and the massive power those things have. I mean, very interesting.
Yeah, that's right, and that's something I haven't even been able to do, but I think I might have coordinated one of those first things that you did. I think Craig Schwartz from MIC-TV went along with you and filmed, and that's just awesome to be able to do something like that. And I always tell my students as well that get to work in this area, whether they're on camera talent like yourself or more of a production person like Craig or I, you get involved in a lot of interesting things. I had my students out at a local Mexican fresh market, Zamora's. You probably are familiar with that, across from the courthouse. We were doing a little video TV commercial for them as part of a student project. And they've never been there before, and they got to go in there, and they were just amazed. Sure. We ate lunch at their little restaurant there, and it was just awesome. I've never been to the place before, but because we are doing a project, we were able to take advantage and learn something about our community along the way.
Are the students interested in getting into broadcasting? You know, we see so many YouTube things are popping up all over now, and everybody can make their own video and make their own thing that can get 2 million hits. You know, you talk about some of these kids, these singers that are doing this. Are kids interested in getting into this business?
Yeah, there's a lot of different areas they can get involved in. Of course, when you think of broadcasting, you think of primarily radio and television. Now our program's called Broadcasting Digital Media. So we still train our students for traditional radio television jobs. And that could be running a camera, editing video, announcing on the radio, producing, directing, setting up lights, learning about audio, and there's so many jobs behind the scenes as well as on air in both radio and television. But now, because of the internet and social media and YouTube and all that digital media, there's a lot of employers that are looking for people who can produce promotional and instructional and training segments for their company using social media and digital media. And so I think it's just a huge area. So we go beyond traditional broadcasting and really try to get involved with that digital media area.
Because, you know, you think of media, you think about the people may think about just the people that's up front in front of the camera. It's not all the people that, you know, we've got behind the scenes that are putting everything together. And, you know, I've always been fortunate enough, as I say it, to be in front of the camera or on the mic at the radio station or doing something like that, because I don't have the knowledge to work on a mixer board or work on production. But that is where the real, as far as I'm concerned, heroes that make the people up here look good, or try to make me look good.
That's right. There's a lot of, you know, now this is a very small show with a small budget where we only have a couple people working on this show, but still you have a couple camera people, then you have to have somebody that's doing the editing. You might have somebody that's working on a graphic for the show, and of course somebody that is paying attention to the audio. And so you can, on something much bigger, like if you're working for ESPN doing a game or something, you might have 50 people behind the scenes making sure that thing happens and that show is produced or that game is produced. So there's a lot of professionals, technicians behind the scenes making it happen.
I did a program with Speed Vision one time, and they come in 2 days earlier. They bring the trucks in, they bring the generators in, they run wire everywhere, cable everywhere, and when it got right down to the thing ready to go, there was 3 of us in the booth, and I really never was on camera. My job basically was to be there 2 nights and scout out what was going on, and I'm feeding these guys papers under the, you know, off to the side, saying, tell them about this guy, how he wrecked on Thursday night, you know. And so it's one of those things where there's so many people that have to be involved in a 30-minute show, an hour show, or a ball game. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example of how there's so many things that happen that people don't see behind the scenes, and it's kind of interesting if people have a chance to watch a behind the scenes. Like for instance, Deadliest Catch was a show that a lot of people was interested in the past, and I got to see one of those behind the scenes filming of Deadliest Catch, and anybody can watch those. But it's really interesting how all the people behind the scenes making it happen, that it's not just that person that's climbing up the side of that mountain that's risking their life, you know. There's a camera
right beside him with
yeah, there's a camera crew that are doing just as dangerous things, maybe more so, to make them look good. You know.
Yeah, it just, and then I guess you can really tell that by just sometime watch the credits roll, because
true.
you got the grip carrier, the second grip carrier, and I don't know what that means. You know, what is a grip carrier?
Yeah, key grip, I think, or grip carrier. Yeah, that's more of a general term, like a gaffer, where they're responsible for doing anything, making sure hauling gear or whatever. So.
Can you take this away? I don't feel safe with the gun in my house.
Now, we got the kids that do work on the set and work with you in production, and you've had some graduates that went on and have done. I remember the one kid. I can't remember his name. You probably do.
Andy Ireland, I think you might be talking
that,
about.
Went to KCRG.
Yep. Well, Andy Ireland was one that went on to KCCI, and he worked in their sports department. He covered the Olympics in China a few years ago, and now he's in the advertising business now, and I think he's out of television, and he's kind of got promoted to another level now. So he was one of our so-called famous graduates, and then we have some behind-the-scenes people like Zach Takis, who's over at Cedar Rapids, working at a television station, the Fox affiliate over in Cedar Rapids, doing Master Control Room. We have Nikki Newbro, who's a reporter for Channel 7, KWWL.
Is that right? Really?
Yeah, so we have a lot of graduates that are working in the area. Yeah.
They got to start.
Yeah, so a lot of them started maybe at a community college like this, and some of them went out into the workforce. Some of them left our program, went to a four-year school like a Grandview in Des Moines or UNI, Iowa State, or University of Iowa, or Drake, and move on and get that four-year degree and decide what they want to do from there.
Now, how do you get your students for the next year? Do you go out into schools? Do you try to recruit them? Is there a way? Because I've always wondered why there isn't more kids that want to be an announcer. Why there isn't more young people that want to get in the business. And I'm not sure what your numbers are, but how do you recruit them? How do you get people interested?
That's a good question, Denny. It's there's a lot of programs around the country and around the state that have a program similar to ours, but we're one of the few. It's probably only 2 or 3 community colleges in the whole state of Iowa that have a broadcasting or a journalism program like this. So we really try to convince students to give a community college a try and start out here instead of going to UNI or Iowa State or one of the four-year colleges or universities first, because they can get a lot of great hands-on experience and get that 2-year degree and go out into the workforce, or transfer those credits and have a running start going into the university. Sure. But there's plenty of jobs out there that you can do in the industry with that 2-year degree. And so we have a lot of students that we really try to recruit here because we're a big time, really big on hands-on learning and producing shows like we're on today, and working with clients in the community, producing TV commercials and audio and video projects. So we really try to go out there and get that message out to the high school students. We have the video drone now, which you're familiar with, that we've been using, and that's been a recruitment tool as well, because that's just one tool we use to film and video different things throughout our community, and that's been a real popular one with young people now, because some of the young people we try to recruit can really relate, because flying a drone is almost like playing a video game, and it's pretty cool to them, and they can really relate to it, and they're actually quite good at it, because I didn't grow up with video gaming, and maybe you didn't either, but these young kids now, they're like, wow, it's like chewing gum for them. It's something they've always done, and so they're really good at those types of things. So we make fun out of video gaming being a waste of time, but in some cases there probably that aptitude can lend itself well to things like flying the drone and maybe operating some other equipment that we have. And the GoPro cameras are the other thing that similar. We use my cell phone, smartphone as a controller for these devices, like the GoPro cameras, the drone. That's how we decide what pictures or video to take, and that's how we see what the drone is seeing by using my smartphone, or any smartphone, or a tablet. Like you have an iPad or whatever, you can use that. So that's how you know how high the drone is, what its altitude is, how much time is left on the battery, what the camera's seeing. So These kids just love that stuff, eat that stuff up. So I try to use that as a tool to recruit students as well, so they have an idea where the industry's going, you know. And
You know, you talk about, we're so lucky to have it here at MCC and out here at Iowa Valley. And I remember back when I graduated, you know, I wanted to get
what a
into-
memory.
Yeah. I got it wrote down at home.
Yeah,
so I
okay.
can- I always wanted to get into radio. Only place I had an opportunity to go was to a school in Milwaukee. I was going to have to go to some radio school to learn how to be an announcer. And I thought, well, I didn't really want to go that far, you know, being a Marshalltonian and everything. I just wanted to stay here. So I went to the MCC when it was uptown at Old Central, and that went to school, just took boring classes that I knew I had to take. So went for a year and a half, then got out in the workforce. But to have it right here in our community, that is just unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, the other point I was going to make, too, in regard to, you know, the opportunities to be an announcer and work at a radio station were, you know, limited because there was only that one radio station in this town or one network station, you know, it's one CBS in Des Moines or Cedar Rapids. And now, you know, you mentioned YouTube videos before. In order to send a video or a film or a TV show out to a mass audience, you had to be a Steven Spielberg or Alfred Hitchcock or, you know, a big time reporter for people to see you and hear you. Now any high school kid, a middle school kid, could make a video that goes viral that millions of people could see around the world. And so the opportunities are there, you know, for the taking.
They just have to apply themselves and go after it. Again, when I first started out doing the races, that's how I started, you know, plug a microphone in and say a few things. And then Mark Osmondson sent me to Daytona when we started, that was probably back in 1988, 88 it was, and went down there and he says, send us back some interviews. So I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to try to find an interview and talk, and we talked to a few people, and I didn't know what to say to these guys. You know, it looks so smooth when you watch it on camera. And, you know, so I was interviewing the likes of Bobby Allison, Donnie Allison, Dale Earnhardt, and I'll tell you the Dale Earnhardt story, but people that were peers in our sport, I had the opportunity, but then you could go, then it was different too. You could go up to these people, they'd talk to you. Now you have to have the credentials and the passes and everything had to be all put together to do it. I remember doing a Dale Earnhardt or Bobby Allison interview one time, and we're standing there, and Dale Earnhardt walks up and he taps for the driver's meeting, and as soon as he come in, the name Intimidator hit me, and I forgot what I was saying. You know, I couldn't really. But at that time, I had to write all my questions down, and it just wasn't comfortable doing it. Now I just love doing what I'm doing, and it just makes it better.
You know, you talk about racing. We always try to get our students in some internship opportunities, and you probably know Todd Collins is involved at the Iowa Speedway and stuff. And he always takes. He's hired a couple of my students almost every summer to go down and help set up and do things at the Iowa Raceway for the radio station. Really? So they get a lot of neat experiences working in radio, and some are just thrilled to go down to the Speedway and be able to actually see or even say hi to some of these famous drivers. It's just a thrill for them. And once again, you know, you get into this business and you get opportunities that you wouldn't think you would get.
And it gets you places where you couldn't get without holding a microphone. Or
just like your example of being sent down to Daytona. You know, you probably never thought you'd be going down there, not let alone watching the race, but actually being able to talk to some of these famous drivers.
And you could just walk in there, or sometimes we had to sneak in places, but we were able to get there a little bit more at ease, less security, I guess, than we've got today. So, you know, this school year coming to an end, guy looks towards next year and going out, and now, do they have like job fairs? Is that, I know the college puts on a job fair, I think now, is that a place where you can find your students or find a placement for maybe the students will go?
There's another event that we called called Career Day that's real important, that the high school counselors from around the area, many high schools, bring their students here. And sometimes they focus on juniors, and sometimes they focus on freshmen, or, you know, a range of students to bring out that are trying to think about careers. So we really get to this, to try to get to the students when they're in 8th and 9th grade, because they're starting to think about what they want to do, and maybe what classes they need to take to get ready to go to college there, or go to college here, or have a career in this area. If they wait until they're a senior in high school and decide, oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a construction worker, it might, you know, they're late. I mean, they need to have some of the classes in place already and get some of the skills so they can be ready to go out in the workforce before that. So I think with my, so I try to get out there and talk to some of these students even, you know, long before they're a high school senior, and say, hey, this is what we do, this is what kind of jobs are out there. But then 2 or 3 years later, sometimes I find them in our program because that's something I said to them 4 years ago.
And the high school has their own communication program where they teach the kids how to utilize the green screen and different camera things.
And that's real important, because I think some of them are freshmen, some of them are juniors and seniors taking a video production class, for instance, at Marshalltown High School. And a lot of them are just taking it for fun or as an elective and stuff. But it's really career exploration, right?
Exactly.
Some kid takes that and said, man, this is really fun. I want to do this.
You know, a job isn't a job if it's fun. You know, you can do it, you can learn from it.
And so that really helps our program too, because there'll always be some of those students that decide, hey, I'm going to look into this as a career. And so they might come out and take some classes from us or come into our program.
Sure. Well, I tell you what, it's been a pleasure. I'm glad you scheduled this for today so you could be out here and get rid out of class and into this one, and talk a little bit about what you love to do right here, and how we can have the kids working with the programs, learning something, and kind of exploring their future.
It was great to be on the show. Thanks.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for joining in, tuning us in, and just enjoying a little bit more about Discover Marshalltown. My guest today, Steve Muntz. I'm Denny Grabenbauer saying thank you, and we'll see you next time.